pardon me one more time. I'm going to kick it up a little higher.
Good afternoon, Blue 23 is at gate 13. We have hotel for the harbor.
Blue 23, Louis, north side, Blue, takeoff, flight.
We're clear to lift from the north pad, Blue 23, mahalo.
Napa ikalai ili opi aluga uka maku alo ione itanoan ikana nio hali ilu elu ole ada leo taman ike kula pili mawilo.
There's our ship.
You're home away from home. Okay, I'm back with you now. We're swinging around the south side of the harbor, as you can see, Niwili Harbor. If you like to kayak, you can paddle your way out of that harbor up that river, the Hawaiian River. Today's been another good day for kayaking so far.
Why don't you come with me, little girl, on a magic carpet ride? You don't know what.
To our right side on the north bank of the rivers, the Alacoco Fish Pond. Some people call it the Mini Huni Fish Pond from folklore. This is the Hau'upu Ridge below us, and we're going to continue to cruise along the ridge for just a few more miles. On our right windows on the north bank of the river, there's some wetland taro fields that resemble old rice paddies. In those fields, we saw Gene Hackman, Patrick Swayze, and Robert Stack in the movie Uncommon Valor. And almost on our right side, on the south bank of the river, Raiders Meadow, where Indiana Jones ran from the Headhunters and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Last year, or actually almost 2 years ago now, the Disney people were below us filming scenes for the latest Pirates movie on Stranger Tides with Penelope Cruz and Johnny Depp. The beach is at Kipukai on our left, on the other side of the ridges. The beach is at Kipukai. There we saw Anne Hesh and Harrison Ford in 6 Days and 7 Nights. Mr. Ford's character allegedly landed the airplane on the beach over there in that movie. It was not a pretty landing. However, the two walked away from it. We have an old saying in aviation: any landing you walk away from is a good one. Flying is the second greatest thrill known to mankind. I read that. And I thought, well, landing must be the first. You knew that was coming. It's the Kipu Ranch on the right. It is a working cattle ranch. We have 12,000 head of cattle on Kauai that are grass-fed. And 95% of the beef raised on this island is shipped to the U.S. mainland. It is part of our aloha spirit. We like to share, you know. Beef in paradise. To our left, the Waito Reservoir. It's our largest lake on the island. South of the reservoir is the historic town of Kaloa, Old Kaloa Town. That is where our sugar industry started in our state back in 1835. And then there's Kauai's South Shore. If you enjoy the sunshine and the warmth of the sun, that's the place to be, Kauai's South Shore. Sunny Poipu is there. And Poipu Beach, rated one of the top beaches in the world at one time.
So you know that when I die, it's gonna set me up, the spirit in the sky. Oh, set me up, the spirit in the sky.
Well, we're leaving the Ha'upa Ridge now. We're going to cross over the Knutson Gap. And down here in the gaps, the tree tunnel. Perhaps you've driven through it. On our right side, the tree tunnel intersects with Highway 50. The tree tunnel, it's 2 rows of eucalyptus trees that were planted in 1911. In those days, that tree tunnel was 3 miles long. Today, it's only about a mile long. Albizia trees. Got a lot of them below us. They grow on the wetter sides of Kauai, this east shore and up on the north shore. That tree has a flat, layered-looking canopy. It was brought here from Asia. Here in Kauai, it's been utilized as a reforestation tree after the hurricanes. That tree can grow as much as 20 feet in height in the first year it's planted. On your side, Jason, are the towns of Omau, Lawai, and Kalaheo. Louise, Kelly, and Eric, these are the Kahili Mountains. To our right, to the north of us, they top out at 5,243 feet. So they are the highest mountains on the island. At almost, not quite, but almost a mile high. We still have a lot of jungle on the island like we see below us. Only 10% of Kauai is developed. That includes all our farmlands. Around Alexander Reservoir, we see more of the albizia trees. The tall, slender pines are Captain Cook pines. They are cousins to the Norfolk pine, you might say. It is. It's a beautiful island. The Garden Island.
We were told that 95% of the island is inaccessible by road. Is that correct?
I'd say that's pretty close. There are some old plantation roads back here in some areas, but there's a lot of interior here that is very remote. There are 70,000 people that live on the island full time, but most of the population is located along the coast. Very few people live here in the jungle, in the interior. And that is an albizia tree in front of us.
How would it get there?
You know, it's what you might call a volunteer. You know, the seeds get spread around the island. Find a good place to take roots, I guess, and there you go. The roots are nitrogen fixing. The soil becomes so rich in nitrogen over time that nothing else will grow there, so we end up with those huge stands of albizia trees. Those are called Manawaiopuna waterfalls on our right. Manawaiopuna waterfalls. We call them Jurassic Falls. They were featured in Mr. Spielberg's first Jurassic Park movie. He filmed that movie on Kauai 21 years ago, back in '92. And then in '97, he filmed Lost World, some of Lost World here. Those waterfalls are 280 feet in height. They're on private property. This is Robinson family property. So if you want to hike back here, that's between you and the Robinsons. People ask me about hiking back in here, and I always have to tell them that it is private property. Those are called Kihili Falls. We're still in the Kihili Mountains. The dead trees are koa trees. They're native to the island. In the past, they were the largest trees on the island. But thousands of koa trees on Kauai were stripped by the winds of Hurricane Iniki. Iniki was a Category 4 hurricane that devastated Kauai on September 11th of 1992. Iniki caused $1.8 billion worth of damage here. It damaged 14,500 homes. It destroyed 1,500 homes. Several lives were lost. Iniki, if you translate it, it means sharp, piercing winds. We're going to grab some more sky now and climb out of Hanapepe Valley. You're feeling are the winds coming over the ridges back to the east of us. It's what we call mechanical turbulence. It's quite normal. Our winds aloft this afternoon at 3,000 feet are about 20 knots. So it's another day with some moderate trade winds. On our right side are some Robinson family homes. They own 51,000 acres here. They're the largest private landowners on the island. They're in the cattle business. They were in the sugar industry for 120 years. Out our left, lots of coffee. That's the Kauai Coffee Company to our left, with 4 million coffee trees on 3,400 acres. In the past, it was sugar. It used to be the McBride Sugar Company. But in the 1980s, they started to make that transition over to coffee. If you take a boat ride while you're on Kauai, it's very likely you'll meet your boat crew there in Port Allen. The towns of Ali'ili and Hanapepe are there. Ahead of us, the towns of Waimea and Keikaha. This used to be the Gay and Robinson sugar plantation out here. It was the highest yield per acre sugarcane in the world, thanks to our warm days and cooler nights. The Robinsons irrigated those fields with a drip system. And in these foothills, they dug miles of irrigation canals and tunnels to carry the life-giving water from the mountains to their sugar. And there towards the base of the mountain is another one of their homes. Actually, that's one of their first homes. Robinson's ancestors, the Sinclairs, sailed to Kauai in the in the 1800s. They sailed here from New Zealand. When Elizabeth Sinclair arrived, she started buying property. Her first purchase was that island out there, the island of Ni'iau. It covers 70 square miles. She bought it in 1863 from King Kamehameha IV. She paid the king $10,000 for that island. Then she started buying property on Kauai. We call Ni'iau the Forbidden Island. We're not allowed to go there unless we're invited as guests by the Robinsons. Their cattle ranch on Ni'iau covers 44,000 acres. The Robinsons are no longer in the sugar business, at least for now. About 3 to 4 years ago, they harvested the last sugar crop there behind us and then closed their doors. So that was the last of the sugar on the island. In today's market, it's just cheaper to grow it elsewhere.
Is it the Robinson family that's on the Big Island too?
I apologize. I was making a position report. What was the question?
Is the Robinson family on the Big Island as well?
Not to my knowledge. We're going to enter Waimea Canyon, the Grand Canyon of the Pacific. Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain named this canyon the Grand Canyon of the Pacific. The Australian silky oak trees are in bloom now, giving some gold color to the canyon. Waimea River below us. If you translate Waimea, it means red river or red water. The iron oxide in the soil gives it that red color. The darker rock is called Waimea basalt. The basalt is very rich in iron. As the basalt ages, the iron in it combines with that oxygen to form the iron oxide. The soil is volcanic in origin. Kauai is classified by geologists as a shield volcano, like many of the Hawaiian Islands. This island is basically shaped like a European medieval war shield. On your side of the aircraft, Gwen and Craig, those are called Waipo'o waterfalls. When they're flowing, they descend 800 feet there. But a little further up the watershed, quite often the water is diverted for irrigation. So there's a lot of time. In fact, most of the time, Waipo'o waterfalls are just not there. This side of the shield volcano developed fractures in it. This canyon was carved out of those fractures with wind, with water. Waimea Canyon, the Grand Canyon of the Pacific. We're going to exit the canyon very shortly as we cross over the Waimea Rim Road. We'll cross at milepost 12. The road is about 19 miles long, and it does offer spectacular views of this canyon. Ahead of us, the west side of the island, there's 20 miles of white sandy beach that wraps around the west side. Back on the right side, Lua Reservoir. It's an old fishing hole stocked with rainbow trout. On Kauai, the streams and rivers are too warm for the trout to survive. Up here at this elevation, the reservoir is cool enough. They'll grow there. So far, the largest trout that was caught there was 4 pounds. Below us, the Polycona Forest. Several months ago, we had a burn here. This forest is home to black-tailed deer and wild boars and wild goats, animals that were introduced to the island. Back to our left, below the cliffs, the Barking Sands Beach. It's just a great place to watch the sunset. If you do spend some time on that beach, listen to the wind as it blows over the surface of the beach. Listen to those shifting sands blown by the wind. Some people say they sound like barking dogs. The shifting sands on Barking Sands Beach. Those cliffs to our left, above the beach, are where the spirits of the Hawaiian people leap off and enter their underworld, their afterlife that they call Po. They join their ancestors there. At our left front, the tracking station is part of the missile range that's offshore. How are we doing? Doing okay? All right. We'll march on. Now we're over Kauai's Nepali. 14 miles of some of the most sheer cliffs in the world here. Stretching from Barking Sands Beach to Kauai Beach. This side of the shield volcano broke off. Gigantic landslides and heavy rains and wind and constant wave erosion carved out the Nepali. We're going to enter Honopu Valley now. And here at the mouth of the valley is the Honopu Arch. And down there below the arch, that beach below the arch, that's where we saw Harrison Ford run from the pirates in 6 days and 7 nights. And not long ago we saw Johnny Depp down there on that beach as Captain Jack Sparrow. Jessica Lange had her screen debut in this valley in the 1976 remake of King Kong with Jeff Bridges and with Charles Grodin. So Hollywood calls this the valley or home of Kong. Kauai Valley. Some sources say as many as 5,000 Hawaiians lived in this valley one time, and they lived in here less than 200 years ago. When the Polynesians arrived 1,400 years ago and found these valleys along the Pali, they settled into them, they farmed the valley floors, they fished out of the ocean. They lived in these valleys for centuries. And when they lived here along the Nepali, the Hawaiians established the Kauai Trail. It's also called the Nepali Trail. It comes in from our right, from the northeast, and that trail ends on our left at Kauai Beach. Back out your right windows, you can see the trails. It switchbacks across those razorback ridges. It's a very rugged trail. It's 11 miles long. It varies anywhere from sea level to 1,000 feet above the surf. Back on your side, Jason, you got a couple hikers down there. They're eastbound. This little valley, Hanakoa Valley, is mile marker 6 along the trail. Hanakoa Valley. Back along the Nepali from whence we just came. Southeast Asia is located 5,000 miles due west of us. We believe that the Polynesians originally came from there. The Polynesian people crossed this ocean in canoes, double hull canoes. That's my definition of no fear.
Did you ever spot whales down
Oh
there?
yeah, there's lots of whales out here. We are in our whale watching season. The whales are magnificent animals. The humpback whales, you know, at one time there were only 1,200 of them. Now there's over 12,000 at last count.
They came flying from far away.
The Polynesians were guided by their navigators, phenomenal navigators, the wayfinders. They spread their culture throughout a very big part of this ocean. The Pacific covers just about a third of our planet over here at our 10 o'clock.
Places beyond my land, they found new horizons. They speak strangely, but I understand. And I dream of an eagle,
Well, they're still at the surface.
and I dream of his great white wings, flying high, high. I'm a bird in the sky. I'm an eagle that
You
flies.
can see the sunshine, the sun shining off the peck fin.
What a feeling to fly over mountains and forests and seas, and to go anywhere that I please.
That's the best view I've ever had of them.
I'm sorry?
It's the best view I've ever had of them.
I saw good friends sweet, and we fly wing to wing. I have questions and they know every.
Let's see, this is almost March, so they'll be here for a while longer.
It's only made to walk.
The mother whales, they'll feed their calves here, and then they'll mate, and then they'll start their journey back to the cold waters of Alaska in April and May. We're going to leave the Nepali coast with Makana Ridge on our right. Mount Makana, that's the ridge with the peaks. We know that ridge as the mystical island, the mysterious island that was called Valley High in the movie South Pacific, the old movie classic South Pacific. That ridge was seen in the background as that island, the island that called out to everyone. And they're at the base of Mount Makana, or Valley High. That's KA Beach. That's where Highway 56 ends, and it's where the Kalalau Trail begins. The character in South Pacific, Bloody Mary, she sang all about Valley High.
May call you any night, any day, in your heart.
Part of that movie was filmed up here on Kauai's North Shore. We're just going to cruise along some of the North Shore.
Come away, Valley High will whisper on the wind of the sea. Here am I, your special island. Come to me.
We have 340 miles of shoreline. 60 miles are white sandy beaches. There's a good number of them up here where you can just kick back and relax. Just a great place to get away from it all, escape the tyranny of urgency, at least for a while. The community on the right is called Hyena.
I dream we were walking hand in hand on a white sandy beach of Hawaii.
The North Shore stretches from Kauai Beach to that peninsula, the Kauai Peninsula. It's the northernmost point in our state. We call it Crater Hill. It's where you'll find the old lighthouse and the bird sanctuary. Secret Beach is located on this side of that peninsula. Right here in front of us, that's the town of Princeville. On this side, on this west side of Princeville, the St. Regis Hotel. It sits over the, or looks over, I should say, looks out over Hanalei Bay. A lot of people learn to surf in Hanalei Bay at Black Pot Beach, where you see the vehicles parked on the beach. Black Pot Beach, where where the Hanalei River empties into the bay. The old wooden piers there. Hanalei Bay is known for its surfing. Last year, part of the movie Soul Surfer was filmed there, the story of Bethany Hamilton. Part of the movie The Descendants with George Clooney was filmed there. This is Nurses Beach down here, where Mitzi Gaynor washed that man right out of her hair in South Pacific back in 1957.
Rocks me all night long. Oh, last night in my dreams, I saw your face again. We were there in the sun on a white sandy beach.
Hawaii's North Shore. We call it Halalea, the House of Rainbows. This part of the island is usually more, well, it's a wetter part of the island. Because it's more windward, with the trade showers coming in from the northeast, we do see lots of rainbows up here. Halalea, the House of Rainbows. Town of Hanalei to our left, that's a fun town. You got those great beaches nearby and lots of restaurants and shopping. The little green church in Hanalei, it's another one of Kauai's landmarks. Sometimes you see a rainbow arcing over it. It really makes for a great picture.
The rainbow way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Someday
Almost every scar on every ridgeline represents a waterfall, and when there's sufficient rain above the ridges, all of the waterfalls come alive. These are some of the highest waterfalls on the island. Namakama waterfalls, they descend from an elevation of 4,077 feet.
you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dare to, oh why can't I? Oh, someday I wish upon a star, wake up with a
We're going to cross the high saddle now over to Hanalei Valley. The Hanalei River flows to the north, but we're going to turn south.
like a lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you find me.
Those are called Pecora Falls to our left. And a little further east, the Power Line Trail. It's a good day hike one way. As we cruise up this river valley, if you look left and right, back in the nooks and crannies, you'll see more waterfalls. Back to the right side in the Box Canyon, those little waterfalls back there seeping out of the rock face. That's called the Weeping Wall. Those waterfalls are always there, seeping out of the rock face. They're probably spring fed because they're there even in the driest time of the year. When all the waterfalls in this valley come alive, the Hanalei River below us is completely transformed. It can empty 140 million gallons of water a day into Hanalei Bay. Those are called Waipuna Falls to the left. The average rainfall up here on the South Hanalei Ridge is 163 inches a year.
Hey, anything we can do to keep the ride a little more smooth would be greatly appreciated over here. Just letting you know.
I'll do what I can here.
Very much, sir.
$163 inches of rain a year here at the South Ridge. As a rule of thumb, on Kauai, for every 1,000 feet you go up in elevation, that's an additional 100 inches of rain a year. We're approaching the north wall of Mount Waialeale. Waialeale is the crater that sits at the center of the island. It's been called the wettest spot on Earth. The crater rim rests at 5,180 feet. And the average rainfall up there is 485 inches a year. That's the latest statistics. In 2006, the crater received 610 inches of rain, and back in 1982, the rain gauges above us collected 681 inches of rain.
I saw some hang gliders over to the left.
Yeah, I was talking to them when we came over the north wall. For the early Hawaiians, this crater was sacred. They believed that their gods lived up there. They made a pilgrimage once a year to the top of the crater to worship. Their stone altar is still up there. With a good rain above the crater becomes the Wall of Tears. crater to the south wall. The mouth of the crater to our left was the entrance to Jurassic Park. There's an old plantation road that ends right there to our left. But where that road exits the tree line on our left now, that's where Hollywood built Jurassic Gate. And along that dirt road, Mr. Spielberg's people constructed the electric track that guided the electric cars through the park. In the movie Flight of the Intruder with Danny Glover, that was a Vietnamese jungle, not quite the triple canopy jungle we saw in Vietnam, but this is a good representation of that landscape. In the movie Dragonfly with Kevin Costner, this was a Venezuelan jungle.
Have you seen these islands?
These islands do have so much beauty to offer us. Emerald green mountains, a warm, sparkling ocean with beautiful beaches.
You know, it's people.
Waterfalls, rainbows, the spirit of aloha, it's all here.
Hand in hand. Have you seen the ocean? Miles and miles of crystal deep blue seas. Can you smell the flowers? Fill the air with fragrances free. This is aloha. This is aloha. This is aloha. This land of Hawaii. Have the power.
Okay, I'm back with you now. I had to take a little care of a little radio work. This is Twin Lakes below us. It's another reservoir. Ahead of us, we've got more cattle pasture. Used to be sugar. Cornfields where the corn hybrids are developed and grown for seed production.
Have you felt it's
There's 5 research companies on Kauai leasing 12,000 acres here on the island. Here they conduct their crop engineering, where the corn hybrids are developed and then grown for seed production. Here and over by the airport, south, down towards Poipu, and out west there by Waimea. Seed production is a big industry on this island. Some people say that Kauai is ground zero for the GMO industry.
this is aloha.
On our left windows, down in the South Fork of the Wailua River, some waterfalls we call Wailua waterfalls. Some people call them Fantasy Island Falls. Those waterfalls are where we saw Mr. Rourke and Tattoo every week in the opening scenes of Fantasy Island. Those two gentlemen greeted their guests to their island there. And on their island, just about anything was possible.
Have you felt
Looking back at the crater and the Kihili Mountains, and as we continue our turn, there's a bump, if you will, in elevation. That rise in elevation, that's the Kilohana crater. It's evidence of some of the last eruptions that took place on Kauai about 500,000 years ago.
blossoms everywhere? Have you felt its spirit? Ancient gods, their mana still lives here. Colored rainbows stretch across the sky. So high.
Well, we have almost completed a full circle of the island, almost. So we are nearing the end of our journey. We're inbound to the airport now. I want to take the opportunity to say mahalo nui loa to all of you. Thank you very much for sharing part of your afternoon with me, with us at Blue. At Blue, we're always grateful for your patronage. If you want to check out Oahu with us, Pearl Harbor, Waikiki Beach, the North Shore, We have a base at Honolulu Airport. Our main base is on Maui at Kahului Airport. And if you're on the Big Island, you'll find us in Hilo and Waikoloa.
This is aloha, this land of Hawaii.
I'm sorry, I had your mic turned off here.
Say thank you. That was an amazing.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's been my pleasure. We're going to re-enter the traffic pattern now, and just a safety reminder for you, when we land at our gate, I want you to remain seated. And please do not open your doors. Let the ground crews open those doors for you. They'll help you exit.
No, they got it all. The simple life for me.
And I'll talk with you again at the gate.
To Kauai, Hanalei by the bay, Wailua River Valley is where I used to play. The canyons of Waimea, standing all alone. The magic of the garden now is calling me back home. When I was young, not too smart, I left my home looking for a brand new start, to find a place that's better still. Now I know I never will.
Okay, Robin and Larry are going to take care of you now. When you do step out, please be careful so you don't trip and fall on the steps and landing gear. And please go to the blacktop so you're not standing under those spinning rotors. Out there on the blacktop, the